Hi guys, just come across a total BS article online, and I get so annoyed by some of the stuff I see on the internet. I was on Facebook, and there was a page or a group on there that's supposed to be there to help people with diabetes, and they basically share some of the most terrible articles I've ever seen. They promote the consumption of meat, fish, chicken, eggs, milk, dairy. They promote this whole low carb rubbish. I mean, low carb is why people get type 2 diabetes in the first place. It's ridiculous. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out to you this article, and I'm just going to add my thoughts to it as I go along. So the title of this article, and I'll put the link in the description so you can go and read it, is "Eating fewer potatoes can reduce risk of type 2 diabetes, Harvard researchers report." Okay then. Harvard researchers report that greater consumption of potatoes can increase the risk of type 2 diabetes, but replacing potatoes with whole grains can lower the risk. The study, published in Diabetes Care, was conducted by a research team led by Kui Sun, MD, Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Sun and colleagues analysed data from male and female health professionals in the United States who didn't have diabetes, cancer, or cardiovascular disease. 70,773 women from the Nurses' Health Study 1984 to 2010 and 87,739 women from the Nurses' Health Study 1991 to 2011 and 40,669 men from the Health Professionals Follow-Up Study 1986 to 2010 were evaluated to assess how potato consumption affected the risk of type 2 diabetes. 15,362 cases of type 2 diabetes were identified during 3,988,007 personal years of follow-up. High consumption of total potatoes, including boiled, mashed, baked potatoes and French fries, was significantly associated with a heightened risk of type 2 diabetes. Right, I'm just going to stop there, and this is where they go wrong straight away. So let's ask the question, what is type 2 diabetes? Type 2 diabetes is an insulin resistance issue. What happens is the person or persons, they eat these low carb diets, these high fat animal based diets, and what happens is they get so much fat in their diet, what happens is it basically stops the cells from bringing the sugar into the cell. So insulin is what actually will bring the sugar into the cell, but when you have too much fat in your diet, the fat literally inhibits the cell because the fat gets in the way. It kind of clogs it and covers the cell, and that is the problem. That's what causes type 2 diabetes. That is why the countries with the lowest carbs consumption, with the highest fat consumption based upon animal products, have the highest rates of type 2 diabetes in the world, the highest rates of pre-diabetes in the world, and that is why, if you look at the countries with the the highest carb consumption, the lowest fat consumption, that are predominantly based upon plant-based products, they have hardly any type 2 diabetes. In addition to that, if you look at the work of Dr. Neil Barnard, Dr. John McDougall, they can reverse type 2 in their patients. How do they do that? High carb, low fat, low protein, high fiber, whole food, plant-based diets. Look at Dr. McDougall. He promotes the potato. He gets his patients on potatoes. He reverses type 2 using potatoes and starch. Dr. McDougall, he takes his patients off their medication within like a day or so, because they'll start having hypos because they're that insulin sensitive, because they will become that insulin sensitive because of the carbs. And this is the mistake they make. So where did we get up to? So I just want to read out to you. So and here's the key. So it says high consumption of total potatoes, including boiled, mashed, baked potatoes and French fries. And there's the solution. There's your answer straight away. These researchers aren't just taking into account potatoes. They are not, these people who are being, researched as part of these studies, they're eating potatoes, but they're not just having potatoes, they're adding, oils and fat in it. So let's say, so mashed potatoes, for example. Most people, when they make mashed potatoes, they don't just, boil a potato and mash it up. They pour milk and butter in there. Milk and butter are high in fat and cause insulin resistance. French fries are cooked in oil. They're soaked in oil. They're loaded with oil. That is the problem. The problem is not in any... Excuse me, it's my breakfast. The problem is in no way, shape or form potatoes. It's ridiculous. It's the fat that is the issue. If you want type 2 diabetes, have fat in your diet. If you don't want type 2 diabetes, eat a low fat, high carb, plant-based diet. Right, let's just read on then. So these findings existed even after adjustment for confounding factors such as diet, demographic, lifestyle and BMI. Eating 7 servings of potato per week led to the highest risk of type 2 diabetes, while each additional 3 servings per week also increased the risk. However, replacing 3 or more servings per week with the same amount of whole grains reduced the risk of type 2 diabetes. So why is it in this case here that it appears that, whole grains are better than the actual potatoes? Well, the reason why is when people consume whole grains, they don't cook them in oil. Most people, when they have whole grains, they have them as, say, oatmeal, as you call it in America, as porridge where I live, or they'll have rice, which is cooked in water, it's not cooked in oil. You generally don't ever add milk or butter to porridge or oatmeal or rice, and that's the distinction there. What are the people adding in with these potatoes? Vegans, we only make up 1% of the population. I think, there are about as many vegans as there probably are gay people. There's next to none of us. They try and tell me that all of these people here were vegan. They're not. These people here are a representation, of, the American population. So, I mean, these people here then, therefore, they don't make up the 1% of vegans. It's not centered upon vegans, is it? It's centered upon the population. And therefore, you can come to the conclusion quite easily, and based upon what they say here, the problem is, these are meat eaters. These are people who consume animal products, because they're just not having the potatoes, but they're adding animal products into the potatoes, and it's the animal products that are causing the resistance, the insulin resistance. Well, let's carry on. Where did I get up to? So, as part of the nurse's health study, whole grains included dark bread, whole grain breakfast cereal, popcorn, cooked oatmeal, wheat germ, brown rice, brown and other grains such as bulgur, kasha and couscous. The vast majority of stuff there, when people, even when meat eaters consume them, they generally don't have that much in terms of animal products. So the cereal, they'll add, let's say, 200 millilitres of milk. The rest of it, though, is generally, cooked in water. And even if in the case the oatmeal person has, say, milk, they're not, cooking any of that in, oil, and they're not adding loads of, animal products, the same as the people who are making the mashed potatoes and eating the French fries. Limiting potato intake is also useful if you have type 2 diabetes, as potatoes contain a significant amount of carbohydrate. Again, what causes diabetes, type 2 diabetes? Type 2 diabetes is caused by low carb, high fat. Carbohydrates don't cause insulin resistance. They don't. What causes insulin resistance is fat. And then here we go, the next sentence. A low carb diet can have benefits such as improved blood glucose control and weight loss of people with type 2 diabetes. Again, this is ridiculous. Which countries have the lowest rates of diabetes in the world? The countries with the highest amount of carb consumption. In clinical scientific trials or studies, which has been done by Dr. Neil Barnard, which diet completely and utterly reversed type 2 diabetes? High carb plant-based diet. A lot of these people, they're going about, reversing diabetes with type 2 diabetes with low carb diet. It's ridiculous. They don't. What happens is these people, they focus on a symptom and not a cause. So again, what is the cause of type 2 diabetes? high-fat diets that cause insulin resistance by inhibiting the insulin drawing the sugar into the cell. What is therefore the symptom of type 2 diabetes? The symptom is high blood sugar. So what these people do is, they, instead of focusing on the cause, which is the high fat, they focus on the symptom being the blood sugar. So by eating the low carb, it can reduce the symptom, and they think they've solved their type 2, and then they then lose weight because they're sick. That's how people lose weight on these, you know, low carb diets. It makes them sick and ill. So they then therefore thinks that it validates their diet. The fact that they've swept so they swept a symptom temporarily under the carpet. But if that person were to go and eat, 254 grams of carbs like I've done today for my breakfast, what would happen? The blood sugars would go up, but not because of the carbs, because they're still insulin resistant, because they're still eating a high amount of animal products. And if anything, it's going to be worse, because what's happening is when you say to someone, oh, you need to eat a low carb diet, they then eat even less carbs and eat even more animal products, so it's even worse. And then in the last sentence, for more information, sign up to the Low Carb Program, a free online education program that was developed with the help of 20,000 type 2 diabetes patients and can help reduce dependency on medication. Again, this article here is ridiculous. It's bro science. If you actually look at this diabetes.co.uk, I mean, I've actually had one or two things with them in the past, and I've actually called them out on different things, questioned them, and I actually ended up getting banned from their Facebook page because I would actually share the information, scientific articles from Dr. Michael Greger, who is one of the leading experts in the entire world on nutrition and health and disease. And if you look for yourself, go to Facebook, type in diabetes.co.uk and look at some of the stuff they have on there. It's terrible. They promote this low carb nonsense. I don't care if you type 1 or type 2. You should never eat low carb. You're increasing your rates of cancer, heart disease, strokes, atherosclerosis, Alzheimer's, obesity, osteoporosis, irritable bowel syndrome, gout, you name it. It doesn't make any logical sense to ever eat low carb on these, whether you type 1 or type 2. And I honestly, don't understand where these... Sorry, camera cut out there. I honestly don't know where these people are coming from. I mean, you look at them and you think, how on earth is it that they're giving scientific recommendations? You don't have to be a scientist to give scientific recommendations or recommendations based upon scientific evidence, but you need to have a basic understanding, and these people, I'm sorry, they don't really seem to have that. I mean, if they did, they would be recommending what Dr. Neil Barnard does. They'd be recommending what Dr. John McDougall does. The two doctors who are successful at reversing type 2 diabetes in the vast majority of their patients. Type 2 diabetes is an illness largely caused 90-95% minimum of the time by animal products and is solvable by a plant-based diet. So I hope that was useful, guys. The message I want to get out to you here is never be scared of potatoes. Potatoes will not give you type 2 diabetes. They will not cause insulin resistance. What causes insulin resistance, which is, essentially what type 2 diabetes is high fat. So meat, fish, chicken, eggs, milk and dairy, and, even high fat, diets based upon, possibly plants. If, let's say lots of vegetable oil and olive oil, get that rubbish out of your diet. Never be scared of potatoes, never be scared of rice, never be scared of grains, never ever be scared of carbohydrates in a high amount. Eat a whole food, plant-based diet. It will reverse your type 2 diabetes for the majority of you who are watching this. If you type 1 diabetic, sorry, you'll never reverse your condition. You've got it for life. I'm in the same boat as you because I'm type 1. But you will maximize your insulin sensitivity, which means you'll need less insulin. You will reduce your lows, reduce your highs, and at the same time you're going to reverse or decrease your chances of getting heart disease and cancer greatly and extend your life. Never be scared of carbs. Be extremely wary of these ridiculous articles you see online. Sorry if that was a bit of a rant there, but as soon as I saw this article I started to get angry and I thought I need to get this off my chest. So I hope that was useful. What do you guys think? If you does none of that make sense? I hope it does. If it doesn't make sense, you need to let me know in the comments below so I can explain to you, what I'm on about, where I'm coming from. is anything else you'd like to see from me? Have you seen anything else like this, and you don't know how to challenge it? Do you not know how to interpret it? Let me know anything questions you have. Put them below. Until next time, keep on eating potatoes, keep on eating high carb, reverse that type 2, maximise that insulin sensitivity as well if you're type 1. If you're not diabetic but want to go vegan, keep on doing that. It's the best thing you can do for yourself, for the animals, for the planet. 17,000 children die every day because we choose to eat dead animals. We give the grain to the dead animals so we can eat, well, to the animals, then we kill the animals so that we can eat the dead animals. That grain could save 17,000 lives every day. So until next time, guys, God bless. Remember to carb up, never be scared of carbs. Go plant-based, high carb, vegan, and I'll see you soon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read out to you this article, and I'm just going to add my thoughts to it as I go along. So the title of this article, and I'll put the link in the description so you can go and read it, is "Eating fewer potatoes can reduce risk of type 2 diabetes, Harvard researchers report." Okay then. Harvard researchers report that greater consumption of potatoes can increase the risk of type 2 diabetes, but replacing potatoes with whole grains can lower the risk. The study, published in Diabetes Care, was conducted by a research team led by Kui Sun, MD, Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Sun and colleagues analysed data from male and female health professionals in the United States who didn't have diabetes, cancer or cardiovascular disease. And they basically share some of the most terrible articles I've ever seen. They promote the consumption of, meat, fish, chicken, eggs, milk, dairy. They promote this whole low carb rubbish. I mean, low carb is why people get type 2 diabetes in the first place. It's ridiculous. Right guys, just come across a total BS article online, and I get so annoyed by some of the stuff I see on the internet. I was on Facebook, and there was a page or a group on there that is supposed to be there to help people with diabetes.